Welcome back to Right to Rise. We have a really special episode for you today. Today, I have my very first author who came to me with this beautiful story that was just brewing inside of her. She came for guidance on how to get it out of her, finally write it formally, and publish it into the world so that she could make a bigger impact and create more of a legacy. And today we're speaking with Alicia Thompson. I'm so grateful to have you here in my community, in my life, and the first published author with Hoala Publishing. So thank you for coming today.
Yeah, I feel like we should have had more rockets going on.
We did, right?
Yeah.
Today's conversation, though, is just Alicia is a dear friend of mine. She was a friend we met at the gym when she first moved here to Hawaii, and she's just a kindred soul and spirit. But her story is so incredibly powerful, and what she's doing with the story is even more powerful. So today, stay tuned. We're going to start talking with Alicia about her writing journey, about her story, and about what she's building from the book, Courageous Compassion. Y'all, if you haven't bought it yet, go out and get your copy. It is on Amazon right now, and we are looking for other ways to get it into your hands. It is also published through Kindle if you prefer not to get the printed version. So Alicia, let's dive right in, though. Let's talk about this. So when you came to me and your writing journey, you mentioned that this story was just brewing inside of you. And I loved how you said that, because it was almost like it had already been written, right? And you just had all these ideas. I remember meeting you at the coffee shop, and you just were like overflowing with ideas. You just couldn't quite figure out which direction to take. So let's start there. Let's start at the beginning and, tell me more about like your story, first of all, and then what moment in your life were you like, this story's I've got to get this out of me?
Yeah. So, the story, really, the whole punchline of the whole book is I went from a temple going LDS Mormon member of the church to leaving Arizona and moving back to Utah. And because I didn't know, who knows, to heal themselves and to look at your life, and like we didn't know that 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
Or at least many of us didn't know it. There were some. So I moved back to Utah, and it was like my inner rebel teenager who never got to express her voice or figure out who she was, came back to Utah, and I started an affair. I had an affair. It went on for almost 4 years. And so here to the world, I was like going to the church. I was a Weight Watcher coach in the community. I'm volunteering at the kids' schools. I'm a wife. And behind the scenes, I'm having an affair, which then led into using cocaine to like numb myself out from all this pain and all this stuff. And no one in my life knew. And one night I was giving my cocaine dealer a ride, and he dropped off the drugs, and I went to pull away, and 5 cop cars surrounded my car.
Oh.
I got ripped out of my car with a gun to my head and literally shit my pants. And then sitting at the jail cell, handcuffed to a bench in my fecal matter, about 2-3 hours still later, my lifetime best friend, like growing up, younger brother, worked at the jail and just stood over me and looked down, and just utter shame and humiliation just really washed over me. And so I get out of jail the next morning and just kind of go back into life. But obviously I was never an addict. I like immediately stopped, but there was just such this numbing of me. And for the next year, it was just so numbed. And then one day my husband turned to me and said, "Do you even love me?" And it was like the world stopped in that moment. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, no, I don't love me. I can't and I can't do this with you anymore. And so that moment to speak my truth and to say something has to change. And so then I went to yoga. My oldest daughter always said, go to yoga. So I went to yoga, standing in the mirror, looking at myself and realizing I had no idea who that woman was looking at me. I never, 38 years old, and I could not like look in the mirror and even say who that person is. It's been such a facade of a life for so long. So it just, then I started to dive into the healing journey. And so, and as I did, and I healed, and I came through, and I could start to talk about things, it was actually other people that would be like, your story, you've got to write a book, your story, which I would have never thought of. But the more I heard that and how much it hit people to hear my story, I was like, hey, I've got to do this. And so for like 5 years, I've been attempting to write this. I've written a chapter or two and then just didn't know where to go. And so then when I mentioned to you, like, I have a book, and you're like, this is what I want to help people do. It was like this giant permission. And then just some guidance and knowing somebody else was there with me on this journey.
Yeah.
So that's the big punchline. But
first of all, thank you for the bravery and coming forth today and speaking about it, and so authentically. I think there are so many parts of that I want to like play off of. Your story, just hearing it now, aside from reading the book, is like, I see parts of my story, like how I numbed and found ways to escape my life and what was going on. And I think so many people can relate to that. I love that you were talking about how this story was living inside of you for 5 years, because when people come to me as a writing coach and as a healer, actually, this whole business was birthed because I was a nurse, and I realized that people's disease processes and the problems that they were experiencing in their life were a direct result of stories that were trapped inside of them and narratives that they were trapped inside of. So I realized that people just needed to be seen and heard, and they did need that permission that their story was of value and that their voice was of value. And so I love that you spoke, because absolutely your story matters. And that is something that I do love to teach people. And it is so easy to, y'all, this woman wrote her book after 2 coaching sessions in probably 10 days?
The majority in 10 days. I would say about 2 months was like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a story that she's just mentioned it, has been brewing and working inside of her. It is her story. It is her lived truth. And she just didn't know how to put it to paper. And sometimes just having that accountability and a little bit of direction in the right way. And you can do this in 10 days or however long it takes you through the writing process. How you mentioned your healing journey and how you started diving into that. How did the writing process and you publishing this book actually launch you into a different layer of that?
So for about 12 years I've been healing, and that was the reason I wanted to write a book, is because I'm like, it shouldn't take people 12 years.
Right. Let's accelerate that.
Yes.
What are the cheat codes?
Yeah. What are the cheat codes, and how do we? And so I wanted to like share the tools, all these tools that I did over 12 years. But writing the story was like, for me, what I want people to see in writing your story and doing this is it lays out like, here's the stories I told myself that led to this life I don't want to live anymore.
Sure.
I want to get out of. And so putting it all on paper, I could see like that was there, and this was because of that, and I've just got to undo all this to now write a whole new story. But for me, until we kind of lay that out and can understand this is what caused that, this is what caused that. So I need to reframe all of this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To be something new in the world.
And literally make space and rewrite that future. Yeah. Literally.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it, like, to me, the book was like, here was the first 50 years of my life. And this book is a way of saying goodbye to all that.
Yeah.
Because we have the ability to completely recreate who we are.
Yeah.
In every moment.
And
but I have to understand what got me there?
Absolutely.
What I need to let go of. We say let go. Well, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah. How do I let go?
Yes. How do we let go in all this? Is you understand what wasn't true. It was this story playing out in who you believed you are.
Sure.
And you can change it once I can like see it laid out and like, that's not me. That's not mine.
Right.
That's just how I learned how to survive. I'm tired of surviving.
Right. I'm ready to thrive.
Yeah.
I'm ready to rewrite this.
Yes.
And make space for the new me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have chill bumps everywhere because this is the power of writing, and the people that are working through my inspired author program are just coming to me with their stories and trying to teach them. It doesn't have to look beautiful or polished in the beginning. We can polish it up later, but just taking the time to write down and alchemize what is going on in your body so you can move it and it's not taking up space. So that is part of the inspired author program that is very different than other programs. It is a whole somatic release when we can tell those stories, get them out of us. I'm curious, because you are so tapped in and tuned into your body, were there parts of this as you were writing? Did you feel certain parts of yourself lifting,
Absolutely.
changing?
So that 10 days, because I left one island and went to another island to be all by myself for 10 days and just kind of put myself in a cave and really write it. I cried more in that 10 days than I swear I've cried my entire life. Like my body just letting go and going to the water and soaking and to me, healing, like there's a great book that calls Body Keeps the Score, which is a great book, but it's here in our bodies, but it's in this mind where it's got to begin. And then I've got to like trust the body and the emotions to let that go.
Sure.
And so it's this thing about building this trust with ourselves and making ourselves so safe to say, I don't really carry this anymore.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that you're mentioning trust too. I reread this book every year, Marianne Williamson, A Return to Love. And she talks about that, our breach of trust. It happens at a very young age, and it is when we set up all of our fears for life. And it's the reason we develop addictions. We develop diseases, and you're talking about learning to trust yourself through writing. Did you meet parts of yourself on the page that you found surprising or that you hadn't found before, or maybe rekindle yourself with a part of yourself that you let buried?
Which is why it's called courageous compassion, because it takes a lot of compassion to let these parts come up. I would have to tap into okay, little 5-year-old, how were you feeling? What was going on? What were you experiencing? And I had to understand that to rewrite and say that we don't need to carry this anymore. That's not what we need. And thank you for doing what you had to do.
Sure. A lot of times helping us survive. It protects us because we're not ready to see that yet.
Yeah. Little child mind. So I resaw a lot of those parts of me and just continue to dive deeper and deeper into compassion and love and trust and building trust.
Yeah.
Especially, when some of our stories are that somebody did invade our body. And so physically, that trust, mentally, that trust, emotionally, that trust has been gone. And that's layers to work through, all 3 of those layers.
Yeah. Woo, so many golden nuggets there, especially the women and the healers in the world that take this on and these narratives on. And this work is so, so powerful. Alicia came to me not only with a book idea, but what I teach people in the Inspired Author program is really how to use this book to start your communities and to start your, revolution or whatever it is that you want to start in the world. And I loved that you had already thought that piece. We kind of reverse engineered your story because you were already to a space where you were like, yeah, I want to do a community and I want to heal the healers, want to create these spaces. So I was like, well, let's start with your story and then we can build a community around. So tell us more about where Courageous Compassion not only got your story out there, but where you're building courageous compassion into the world and spreading it.
So again, where I say healing shouldn't take this long. And so we hear there's so much out there, like do this for healing, do this. But to actually create that time and space for ourselves is so hard. And so I want to create a courageous compassion community where we do plug in and we do some somatic exercises and we do some journaling right then and there. And then we all share what's happening. So we feel seen and heard in the moment of what's happening. And so beginning with that community and really being able to spread that and be a support system for other people, and hopefully one day encouraging others to write their books and write their story, and just even if it's never published, but it's written and it can be passed down into generations, because this is how we heal generations.
Story.
Yes, it's through stories. And then my biggest dream would be open what I call the Compassion Center, because any kind of a healer, anybody who has healed these levels of themselves and hoping to share that with others, we'll go through compassion fatigue. We give and we get fatigued. I mean, nurses experience it all the time, teachers experience it. So a center where instead of taking a week vacation where I'm filling my days, and is people come to a center and they're like, I'm tapped, and I come to the center and all the healing modalities are there. And for a whole week, you're fed, you're served. Compassion is just poured into people so that they walk away just completely full of their compassion cups to go back out and float in the world. So,
like, what I heard this mission, y'all, and I was just like, full body chills. I've got them again. I worked in cardiac surgery, and before that, I had my own massage therapy practice. We walk through this world as a healer, taking on so much, and I didn't have the capability of taking a week off to go somewhere. So just having a center and a sacred space and a safe space for a healer to walk into and just take what you need, fill up your cup. Having that community resource is so profound. I love that you're touching on community again. I think so many of us are wanting to be coaches, or we're being told and led to go to the internet space. I think you and I are so similar in that we want to create that ripple effect, but we understand that we want that to be right here and be present for it, and the people in our lives and the community in our life, of people around us. And then it could be shared to a wider audience, but like you're talking about affecting big changes in the community, and that's so incredible. We both live in Hawaii. Telling stories is integral and huge here in Hawaii. Legacy stories were not always written down and published. I love that you mentioned that. Some of this was just passed down through families. So that piece too is so big. You don't have to become a published author to make a ripple effect or to rewrite your legacy. Just telling that story so that it's accessible to your grandbabies and to your daughter who may not have known parts of that is so powerful, to be able to see your loved one in this different light just through, the story that you're sharing. So it's just so powerful. This book is so powerful. Her vision is so I do want to also speak to the community that, you're building around this. When you came to me, you had this idea, but you didn't really you wanted to do coaching and you didn't really have a community built yet. So I've noticed right away that like Alicia was a very profound writer. She is very well worded and has this incredible integrity and mission and value system that she guides her life by. And then she leads with that and helped Alicia to just find a platform that worked for you, right? You were kind of on social media, kind of fishing in the dark, not feeling great on social media. So we found a platform that really felt better for her. And tell us a little bit more about what you've done since. Yeah, let's hear how you've built this thing so far.
I've never really been a writer. like numbers come really easy to me, but writing is like, it takes a lot out of me to write, but I love it. And I just think our lives are so sacred. And when we tap into that sacred being, like the words just flow. It's like, this is what you need to say, is what I have found for me. Yes. But I didn't know that. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to write a book, I need to start writing. And do people even want to respond to my writing? So I started writing and sharing on Substack. So you had told me you went on this thing called Substack and I didn't know about it. So I created my Substack late October and just thought I'll just start sharing some stories. And it really grabbed a lot of people's attention.
It did.
So
quick.
Yes, really quick, because I do speak so raw, because to me, they are just stories and I've rewritten those so I can talk about the things that have happened, because it no longer is who I am. It's just a part of my experience. And so I wrote these really raw stories and would just get comments and people engaging. And I've got about close to 330 people in Substack that I've been engaging with. And Substack doesn't grow like the other social medias because you're reading somebody's work constantly, where social media is like, tell me in 2 seconds and now I'm moved on. Substack is, I'm going to take 10 or 15 minutes to engage with you. And so,
or even days sometimes.
Days.
But it's genuine. What I've noticed there is just like the community that your subscribers on that platform are like diehard fans. They tap in, especially if you're writing from that heart space, right? It is your mission. This is your medicine. Like they're diehard fans. They're commenting. They want to be in your world. So you've just blossomed into this, like, incredible healer in the online space, in such a quick time. I love it. She's already building her community. Alicia's mentioned several times now, I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. I love to teach people we're all writers and all of our stories matter. And you can learn how to punctuate and you can find people to clean things up. But your story and your medicine and those perspectives are so unique, and what we've gone through in life and what we've learned and how we can assist others is so incredibly profound. So I really do want to talk about maybe the mindset a little bit, and how having a coach or having just a little bit of guidance guided you through that overwhelm, because you are a very busy person. You have a full-time job, you're in school to get your bachelor degree. She is a mother, she is a grandmother, and she's a community healer. Talk to us about all of that.
Yeah, which I did definitely have to go plug out and say I need to plug out, like, because to me, writing is about really touching into your sacredness in your being. And so, like, when you decide to write, it's not like, okay, on my checklist, let me go write 10 sentences. I mean, which can be, but to me, when you want to write and write your story, you have to like say, I'm willing for all parts of me to come and exist and speak to me at this time. And
remove my ego.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes that will be really joyous and happy parts. And sometimes it will be a really pissed off teenager in you. And sometimes it's a really hurt 6-year-old. And so it really creates this space of like allowing all of those parts to come forth and giving them space to speak what they need to speak. And then just letting it speak from you, and just pen to paper and put it down. And then, like you said, there's Grammarly and there's people and there's formatting things. Like, so much help is out there to say, okay, now put in all these stupid comments and capitalize. Like that doesn't, what matters is these parts of you that are getting to speak.
Absolutely.
And say it's because of this and this and this that you believe that, and we don't want to believe that anymore. So let's rewrite this. And that's literally what you're doing.
Absolutely.
So I would say just find a way to honor yourself, even if it's 20 minutes a day, to just say parts of me, what needs to be said. And maybe you dance beforehand. I did that a lot. I would dance. I would go jump in the water and like submerge myself and tap on my body and maybe go out and yell and scream. I mean, just all sorts of things to like let this come up because it's been locked away for a long time.
Yeah. And I couldn't have asked for a better first person to come into the Inspired Author program, because inspire, the word itself, means to breathe life into. And that is exactly how I teach my authors to, or anybody that comes into my community, to write. It is a sacred experience. It is going within. You have all the answers within you, you know, we just have to tap in and then to move your body. I love that you're speaking of the somatic part of that. We have choked on these stories, and sometimes it isn't even our story, it's our grandmother's. I remember when I started this, I was like, oh my God, I didn't grow up on a farm. Like, the stories were coming out that didn't feel like mine. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is familial storylines that are coming, that have been birthed through me just because they were in my body. And I did see my body start to change, and stomach issues, skin rashes, weird stuff that women would maybe call autoimmune issues or extra weight gain. Sometimes it really is just the choked down stories that we've been burying inside of us. I love that you're speaking so much to that piece. If you had it to do again, are there any things that you would have done differently?
I think if I would have to do things differently, you get so excited and it all starts coming out. And this is kind of what the world's taught us, like, go and now give it, share, produce it, go in the world. As I would have slowed it all down.
Yeah.
Just spent more time investigating myself, more time to like allow things to unwind even more. But yeah, when you're juggling all these things and I want to get this out, and it just felt like it was time to birth. I mean, it's like you can't stop a birth once it starts coming.
Yeah.
And so it was
dilating.
Yeah, it was dilated and time to come out. So there was no shoving that back in, but just like honor yourself through it.
Yeah.
I mean, all these parts that are in us and need to release something are just looking for your love and validation.
Yep.
And that's what we all need so bad, is to be seen and heard and felt and validated. But how often are you giving yourself that? And that to me is courageous compassion, is to like really validate myself, really give myself the space and say, world, you can stop. I literally can stop the world to just hear everything that needs to be heard.
Right.
And then to go back and look at the things that happened, like, well, my parents did that, or this person did that. And how can I find the love for them? How can I see that they would have never have done that if they weren't living this story?
Sure.
That's courageous compassion.
Yeah.
Is when I can find that compassion so fully for myself, and then begin to look at all of that and find the compassion for each of them.
I love that. Yeah. And I think that is another really good point, is you can do this in 10 days, like you said, just get it out of you. I do love that you're talking about slowing down, but I do also really want to honor you for taking messy action and just getting it out there. Because y'all, a book can always be edited. She can always do a version 2. This is her intellectual property. When you self-publish or publish through a publishing company, you own 100% rights to your information and to your book. You can pitch this to TV shows, or if somebody wants to make this into a movie, this is yours. And that's the same if you were self-publishing, just taking messy action and getting that first, and you've already got people reviewing it and creating content off of your book, right? It's already making an impact, and you're like, this was messy.
Yeah, exactly. And so I wouldn't change any of that, but I would just say, maybe I would have taken 3 weeks off.
Yeah.
To really create it. But it needed, for 5 years, this has been like, it was time to birth, and I needed to do that, or I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah. So. May I offer this that is another story that we tell ourselves. I need 3 weeks to write a book. I do hear that a lot. I don't really have the time right now, but you do if you're not investing in yourself and tapping. I hear coaches and I have a lot of business people that come to me, entrepreneurs, healers that have stepped out of medicine and come into this space. And I'm trying to teach them to slow down enough to have a core product that speaks to their story and their mission and their message into the world, and then create everything around that. So you did it the right way.
Yeah,
it might be the slower way, but now you've got a physical product that is a very unintimidating way of saying, hey, this is my story. This is an invitation into my world and into my work. If you like this, I'm here.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this book does. It's not a $5,000 coaching program. You're accessible to people now. And that's so important as a healer and with your message, because that makes it accessible to everyone. How can we find you? What are you working on? What's coming up for you?
So just in this space of creating what I want Courageous Compassion Community to become. And I'm just, again, the book to me was a birthing process. So the book is 5 weeks old. We're still very infant stage. And so I'm living the medicine I'm talking about, and that is allowing. I'm out there and I am sharing it and I'm speaking to it each week where I can with people, and I'm allowing it to birth. So you can definitely find me on Substack. That's where I'm going to be most of the time, because I get so much. I feel so seen and heard there.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to go where it feels good. And the mind-blowing, brilliant, magical people on there are amazing.
I know.
Like, I feel so inspired there.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. True connection where I don't feel that through the other socials.
Oh, I love that you're saying that.
I am.
I think the country as a whole is going through social media burnout.
Yeah.
And I love that you're speaking to that, because it really is a true community there.
It is. And you have to read.
Yeah.
Like, you have to read a page or two, or people 8 sentences. Like, it's not a video where in 3 seconds I'm digesting and next, which I want more. And I think so many of us want more.
Yeah.
So I'll pop in once in a while on IG or TikTok and say, hey, here's where I am on Substack. And I don't think a lot of people do, because they're in this gimme, and I just keep going back to where we just marinate. Mm-hmm. I want to be marinated. I want to be a marinator. And so it's Substack that is. And I'm speaking to somebody right now who works with writing bills for the prison system, because my ultimate other big dream is to have this in prisons and holding space in prisons for people to read, like, hey, I've sat on that bench. I was handcuffed to the bench. I know what that feels like. And let's unwind your story. You still have value. You still need to be seen and heard in this world.
Sure.
And I think that that's a huge group of people that don't feel very seen and heard in very good ways.
Sure.
So that's another place where my passion is. And if you have any passion with that and ideas, reach out to me. So I'm definitely on Substack. AliciaJoyful@gmail.com is where you can always find me.
Alicia is also creating an online community, and obviously just letting this flow with the vision to create communities around this. So if this story is hitting home for you, or any parts of this, we love hearing from our listeners. We love hearing from our readers. There's no team behind us. We are the person behind the email, behind the text messages, behind the podcast. We are the people that you are going to hear from. So we want to hear from you. You're not going to get an automated message from Alicia. You're going to get a heartfelt response. And if you can be part of her compassion project in any way, step forward. We'd love to have you. It is your time. Take this as a divine message to reach out. Thank you so much for your time today. We're going to have you back, because there's just too much. I wouldn't even scratch the surface of this book.
Like the first 2 pages.
Yeah. Like, if you love to have little bite-sized exercises on, here's a brief lesson and here's an exercise on how to move through this. Alicia has done this so masterfully with this book. And I've worked through it myself and just met so many parts of my story and parts of myself that needed to come out and come through. And it made me a better person. So may we all find courageous compassion. May we give that to the world. And I'm just so proud of you. I love you so much.